Thank you, Mr. Kunamar. Thank you, distinguished guests and colleagues on the stage here to my left. It's a great privilege here to be invited today to such an important issue in such distinguished company here, and we're very appreciative of that opportunity. I think all of us here have got something to offer on these topics. I very much look forward to the discussions over today and the next couple of days on these very important issues, and I think the framework set there by Mr. Kunamar really does give us some challenges that we all need to work towards. I think from our point of view, from Fonterra's point of view, we're here to give a business view of what we can contribute to solving some of those issues we've dealt with, we've talked about just here. We have a lot of on-ground experience in actually how do we actually translate the challenge around more food and less impact, and we want to share that sort of our insights and our experience around that to inform the work of this group today and onwards from here. So ladies and gentlemen, I think essentially one of the key questions we're trying to answer is how do we produce more food? Really, it's more nutrition. How do we produce more nutrition in a way that we can sustain it indefinitely? And to make sure that our subsequent generations on our farms and our customers, our consumers, our dairy consumers, are left with a better future than the one we currently have now. I think that's the simple answer in terms of where we're going with sustainability. And there's really one key component of that, I think, in our experience, and I'll talk more about those experiences to us. The key component, I think, that drives the change we're looking for, that brings us more food, that brings us lower impacts, is around profitability for farmers. So if the focus here is on production, then we lose track of the real answer here, which is around profitability for farmers. And as we drive profitability for farmers around the world, in all countries, then all of those opportunities we're looking for and all those challenges we're facing here are unlocked for us here. And that's really what we want to help you talk about today. Essentially, we've got three components that underpin the work in our business. Dairy excellence, nutrition for all, and responsible dairying. They're the three sort of platforms that underpin our strategy work in terms of how we drive this from here. And the cases I'll talk about in a minute all fit in under one or two of those pillars there that actually guide us in terms of actually more food and less impact. Okay. So as I said, it all starts on the farm, and the lesson here really from a cooperative point of view, from a farmer's point of view, is to focus on the profitability rather than the production. I think we've seen many examples of where interventions have taken place to improve production on its own, but it comes at a cost, and that cost is actually higher than what you return from that. And I think the really important lesson for us is lifting production is fine, but it can't be lifting production at any price. It's lifting production in a way that makes profit for those that are actually producing. Very essential element here. And there's two components to that. One is, from our point of view as a business, one of those components is to get a higher return for the milk that we sell. So put it into the market and get a higher return from that. Now, sometimes we're constrained in that. We're essentially constrained by market forces in doing that. But obviously, as a processor, we're very keen to make sure the milk has added value as much as we can in that process to maximise the returns to farmers. The other key component of it, though, is to make sure that all of the inputs that go into the systems that we use, the cows, the energy, the fertiliser, the water, the feed, all of those inputs are used as efficiently as possible. The key bit for us here is understanding what the input efficiency looks like in all of our systems. And so whether those inputs are greenhouse gas, whether they're water, whether it's energy, whether it's nutrient, nitrogen use efficiency or nutrient efficiency, there's a spread. There's a spread between the better farmers and there's a spread between the worst farmers. Maybe it's a bell curve like we've got up here in front of us. Maybe it's not a bell curve, but there's a spread. I think our job as experts in this is to actually try and understand that curve, try and work out which are the better farmers in terms of efficiency of inputs, who are getting the most milk, for the inputs that they put in there from whatever we like to measure, and how do we understand to move that gap, move the bulk of the farmers up to that best practice piece. Our experience is there's a 20 to 30% improvement available for us on any of the inputs in a farming system across a general farming population in our milk pools. So how do we identify that 20 to 30% and unlock that as profitability of farmers, which will lead to milk growth? I think the other bit we could look at, I suppose, is greenhouse gases, particularly outside of fertiliser. Greenhouse gas emissions on our farms, it's a big issue for us. Our customers ask us all the time around understanding our greenhouse gas footprint. For example, in any of the dairy products that we produce, our estimate is that 85% of the greenhouse gas emissions associated with those products is actually from the farm. Okay, so it's not in our processing, it's not in our transport, that's about 15%, it's actually on the farm. So if we're really serious about saying, look, we're a sustainable business, we're producing sustainable products in a sustainable industry, then our focus needs to be about farm emissions, and they are largely animal-based. So what are the things we can do that actually improve the efficiency, increase the amount of milk that an animal produces for the same amount of greenhouse gas emissions? And I think that's the bit, again, we're just trying to unlock that and understand that. And probably the key to it in just about every country that we operate in, I think, is cow fertility. So have our farmers had their cows, having calves on a more frequent cycle, okay? Have we got cows that are, because essentially what happens is a cow's greenhouse gas emissions are fixed across its lifetime, more or less, based on their food consumption. Can we get more milk out for the same amount, baseline amount of greenhouse gases? So when we do that, when we improve our cow fertility, then we get, we get an opportunity to say, look, our greenhouse gas intensity has dropped. The amount of greenhouse gas emissions embedded in a particular piece of cheese or a product that we sell has dropped. The other case studies we've got, I think, is if we go to farmers with a discussion around environmental performance, if we go to farmers with a discussion around greenhouse gas emissions or waste or whatever, it's very hard to engage. But if we go to them about, we're here to help you become profitable, it's very easy to engage. So our fertiliser work in some of our Australian case studies, we were saving the farmers about an identified saving of about $8,000 US a year, was the savings that you could get from looking for fertiliser efficiency in those farms. Now that's a very attractive proposition. That's probably about 10% of the average farm profitability. Okay, so we're looking at a 10% improvement in a farm profitability just based on one simple practice adoption around testing soils, making sure the right fertiliser goes in the right place at the right time. That little bit of engagement is a very easy bit of engagement because it's about farm profitability. If that engagement was about the quality of the water that we're compromised or the gases that come off from that, it's a much, much harder conversation to have with a farmer, and I'm sure many of you will have experienced that. In this one you'll see, on the right-hand side, you'll see us there with our customers. So we take our customers to the farm, we show them what goes on the farm, we let them see and understand the challenges we face in producing their products. We take them to things like where the bobby calves are kept or where the calves are kept and where the animals are kept, and we're very transparent about letting them understand what we do. Many of our customers are very happy just to actually understand better about what we're doing. They really have no great understanding of it. They're not dairy farmers, they're not dairy producers, but they do appreciate the fact that we can show them what we're doing. And what we try and do, and I think it's a very important part of it, is to be proud, enable our farmers to be proud of what they do. What they do is a very important job. We don't value it enough. Bringing customers to them really shows the value that community, the value society, the value that regulators and the value that companies and businesses put on the work that they do. So that transparency and that openness is a really clear part of what we're trying to do to actually improve farmer confidence, improve farmer profitability, and therefore lead to greater production with a lower amount of impact. I think that's where we're trying to go with that. I think finally I just want to talk about, and this is something I think we will have discussions on in the coming days, is just how we measure progress in this. So I think we do get very caught up on the data sometimes about we don't have perfect data, we wish we had perfect data, we invest heavily in getting that data, when really what we're trying to do is understand what does good practice look like, what are the best farmers doing, and will that make a difference? And yes, we've done that evaluation, it makes a difference. Okay, so how much of our farm base is now adopting that good practice? So what's that change over time across the farm base? That's the bit I think is the measure of success we're looking for. It's much, much easier to talk about our proportion of the farm base who are performing well and progressing compared to the actual tonnes of greenhouse gas emissions, the megalitres of water, the kilograms of fertiliser that we've saved or not saved on an aggregated scale. It's a very, very difficult place for us and very expensive data collection wise as well. So what's very readily available for us to talk to regulators is around have we made progress? Are the people we're working with getting better every year? And I think that's a very important thing, is to celebrate the fact that we have got a farm base that is getting better, acknowledge the work that those farmers are doing, and talk about that quite openly and quite transparently with our customers and with regulators. And just finally, I'll go to the next slide, please. I think an important part that underpins of whatever we do is to do it with partners. So where we're working just with farmers, we are effective, I hope. Where we're working with farmers and others, with other government agencies, with non-government agencies, NGOs, with service providers, with community groups, wherever we can work with someone else, then our work and our effort gets magnified. Our efforts are well rewarded in doing that, and I think we're quite humble in that we know we don't have all the answers here. We've got a small bit of insight. We'd love to be able to work with others to actually make that insight into something very practical and very useful that drives us to a better place in terms of farm efficiency coming from farm profitability. And so using all of those partners there, and some of those, quite specific. We're heavily involved in Sustainable Agriculture Initiative because our customers are involved in that. We want to be part of that. We want to help them understand the challenges that our business and our industry faces. So that collaboration piece is a very important part of that. Similarly, everywhere there's a government that works with us, we really do need to help them achieve their objectives, because if they're not achieving their objectives, then it compromises our ability to do the same thing. It compromises our ability to to make our farmers and our shareholders in a cooperative model profitable if we don't have good engagement with our governments, good engagement with the industry groups, and good engagement particularly with the farmers and the communities they live in. It's a fantastic challenge in front of us. It's a great opportunity here. We do look forward to being part of that in whatever way that we think is useful. And we thank you again for the invitation, and wish you all a good conference, and look forward to catching up in the coming days here in Bangkok.
Yep. Thank you very much.